Good evening and welcome. My name is Jennifer Miller. I'm the coordinator of Ed Services for the Hollister School District, working with English learners, student learning, and accountability. Tonight I'm here to do a presentation about the RISE Academy, the rigorous independent studies program for the Hollister School District for the 2021 school year. Buenos noches, padres. Mi nombre es Mrs. Miller y estoy aquí para hacer una presentación sobre la Academia de RISE. Si ustedes quieren escuchar la presentación en español, haz clic la pantalla donde dice español y puede escuchar la presentación en español. So if you are listening with family members that would like to listen to the presentation in Spanish, you can click the link on the screen below to listen to my presentation in Spanish. This presentation is geared for students of the 6th through 8th grade RISE program. Welcome. First of all, during tonight's presentation, I will talk to you about what our RISE program is, how it's different from last year for those of you that were participants in the program last year, and for those of you that are new in the program this year, and what is expected of your child while they're in this independent studies program. Our RISE program is just that, an independent studies program. It's a voluntary option for all parents that choose to have their students learn independently and from home. This program is open to any parents and any child that would like to be part of the program, and it is absolutely voluntary. So it's something that's being offered if you are looking for an alternative to doing in-person learning. The only thing that is required is that you do sign the agreement for the RISE program. Now, for those of you that would like to know more about the RISE program, there is more information that's available in addition to this slide that you can see next to me, the handout on the slide next to me. If you go to the website ra.hesd.org, you can find this and more information about the RISE program. School in 2020-2021 was different. Students had one of two options for learning. They could participate in the RISE program, which was an independent studies program consisting of students working almost entirely independently and meeting with a teacher once a week, or sometimes twice a week, but independently, to look at their work and get some coaching and some direction. Students that were participating in in-person learning were transferred to distance learning. During the distance learning program, students learned from home with their entire class synchronously. This means that all the students were on the screen at the same time with the teacher who taught throughout the day to the class. The teachers were connected with the students for much of their class time. This year, for 2021-22, the face of learning has changed, and our RISE program has changed too. Our RISE program is now a combination of both of those systems, where students are working independently through the Edgenuity program, but also receiving synchronous lessons with their classmates and with the teacher online. So it's really coming together into one program. The synchronous learning piece of it, meaning all students together, is a requirement from the state of California, and that requirement mandates that students need to be in daily contact with a teacher. This is via morning attendance and check-ins. So you will notice that students do need to be in school, in class with their teachers every day on the screen, and the teachers are taking attendance for that. There's also a group setting once per week, at least once per week, where students can meet with their teachers and get some guidance. They have lessons that they're teaching, or they're working with the kids on social emotional learning and sometimes support for their lessons. And so these are things that you can see that your student will be doing. So they'll be logging in once every morning to do their check-ins, as well as other lessons that the teachers will invite them to throughout the day or the week. Also, students are required to check in virtually at least once a week with their teacher. This is to make sure that they're able to connect with their work, that they understand what they're doing. And when the students do their check-ins, they are required to do so with their camera on. So as a parent, I would recommend that your child find a place where they can work quietly, not just so that they could do their check-ins, but also so they could complete their work without distraction. Rooms that are appropriate for students to meet with their teachers are places where there's no TV, radio, music playing. It's a place where there's not a lot of distraction from other people in the room. So if you can find a quiet place, a quiet corner for your child, that is usually the best place for them. Since we have middle school students that we're talking about now, they usually do find the place where they want to meet on their own. Some students even do their meetings from their bed, and they take the camera and they just face the camera up to the ceiling, and then they look down at the screen, and that's fine too. As long as you have a spot for your child where they can meet with their class, this is the only important thing here to remember. Another piece of the program this year that might be a little different from before is the progress monitoring. Teachers are monitoring student progress, actually much like they did last year. But this year, when teachers are looking at their progress, they're watching students to make sure that they're making progress with, one, their learning, that they're completing their assignments, and that they're attending their classes. So the teacher is sort of watching three fields for these students, making sure that each one of them is meeting the level, or the students are making progress in all three areas. If we find out that a student or a teacher identifies a student who's not making progress, meaning that maybe they're not generating more than 3 days of attendance, or 60%, they're missing 60% of instructional work for the day, or they're missing 3 assignments in a week. It could also be that they're not compliant with a written agreement. In this case, a teacher would ask for a tiered re-engagement for the student. Tiered re-engagement is when the teacher takes or meets with a student and works with them to try to get them back. Oh, am I still on? In our system, we have it set up for tiered reintegration. So let's imagine that a student is working in the RISE program and they're starting to fall behind. They could be falling behind because they're not attending classes. Maybe they're falling behind because the work is too hard and they're not able to keep up with it, or it's too much work and they're not able to do all the work. These are the things that could sometimes cause our students to begin sort of a backward slide with their learning. And we don't want to see this happen like we happened last year, where students start to slide so far behind that they're not able to catch up. So when a student recognizes that or a teacher recognizes that a student is beginning to fall behind in their work, they will begin the process of the tiered re-engagement. In tiered re-engagement, the teacher would begin by contacting the student and working with the student to try to identify what's happening and make a plan for how to improve that. If that doesn't work, the teacher would then go to the next step, which may be to contact the parents, which would be you, and start working with you and the student to create a plan on how to get the student back on track. If that doesn't work and the student is still not successful, then I would come into the picture, or attendance office would come into the picture, and we would work with you and your family to get the student back on track. If after all three of those things, our student is still not able to stay on with all of the supports that we're able to provide, then we're going to really look at the placement of this child and determine whether or not independent studies is an appropriate placement for their learning situation. So the tiered integration re-engagement system is not necessarily to kick students out of the program. It's actually built to help support and keep our students in the program, but then in the end, really analyze the appropriateness of this assignment for students if they are struggling within this learning platform. Our families do have to have an agreement to participate in the RISE program. Families sign an agreement, and the three main things that you sign are that you will ensure that your child attends classes, that they complete their work, and you assist them with assignments as needed. Now, for middle school, you don't need to assist them as much as you would for elementary school, but you still need to check in on your kids. And a matter of fact, I'm a mom of teenagers, so I know how this goes. And even though students are very independent at this age, they still need some support from you to make sure that they're staying on track. So as a parent, we expect that you will be following up on your student, checking in on their work, and making sure that they are getting the support that they need to be successful in this learning environment. Another thing that's really different about the program this year from last year is how it's structured. Last year, RISE was a school in and of itself. If a student was signed up for RISE, they were signed up for the RISE Academy and its own school. This year, the RISE Academy is a program within your school. Think of it like this. Your student goes to their local school, and within that school, there is a classroom called RISE, which also is a virtual learning environment. So by doing that, your child is still receiving invitations and extracurricular activities that are offered by your school. You'll notice you're still on the caller. You probably received a message about the first day of school and may receive messages about other events. You'll need to call the school if there's an absence, as well as your school will report back to you if your child is absent. That's another thing we should talk about. This week, you'll probably be getting some phone calls from the school announcing that your child has been absent. The reason for this is because we've just transferred all of the students from the RISE program into their new classes, and the teachers were just trained on how to take attendance in those classes today. So all of the attendance for your students will be cleaned up this week, and if you do get an absence call this week, please disregard it. Starting next week, our attendance should be right on. Also, another exciting part of being part of your community school is that you receive services from that school, such as counseling, support, or if they have after-school programs, you're still part of those. And if you're an 8th grade student, that also means you'll be part of your school's 8th grade promotion ceremony at the end of the school year. RISE is not a separate promotion, nor does it do its own program. So you'll be participating in that with your school of residence. Next, let's talk about what's expected of your child in this program. First of all, your child will be attending daily online classes. For the middle school, it's more like a check-in. That's where they're going to get online with their teacher every day through the Google Classroom and meet with other students to do social emotional lessons and check-in. They're also expected to complete their work on Edgenuity. Edgenuity is the program that provides all of the curriculum for RISE. In that way, the teacher is not the one that's teaching the curriculum. Edgenuity is actually teaching the curriculum. Students are assigned 5 courses for our middle school program. They get a language arts, a math, science, social studies, and 1 elective per grade. Each one of those courses will take a student about 1 hour per day to complete. So 5 courses means your student should be working for almost 5 hours per day. It's quite a commitment. Some students are able to get through it faster, and there are other students that take quite a bit longer. In the Edgenuity platform, it also pays attention to how often a student is idle on the computer and how often they're working on the computer. It also tells you about the idle time if maybe they've opened another tab and are doing something else while they should be doing their schoolwork. So one of the things we want to make sure that we keep track of with our students or encourage is that while they're in the Edgenuity program, they're focused and working on their Edgenuity work without distraction and without going to other places on their computer. The teacher will go into the Edgenuity assignments and score the assignments for the child and comment back on those assignments, as well as meet with a child later to let them know how they're doing. Edgenuity even has tests within it so that you as a parent can go in and see how your child is doing. We are working on setting up our Edgenuity system so that parents do get notified on a weekly basis of how their students are doing in the program. A teacher may also sign other things outside of Edgenuity, such as Renaissance, tests, accelerated reader. They may have them do assignments that are posted in the Google Classroom, or go on to Myon for a selection of books that they can use for AR reading. There are other things too, but these are some examples. So the next question is, how do you help, or how do you get help? So if you're working with your student and you just don't know how to get support for them, this is happening lately, or most lately, with getting onto the computer program, knowing how to work your way around. I'm really impressed with how easy it is to work through the middle school Edgenuity program. We haven't had very many students ask us for support in this. The first person you would go to, though, if you're having any issues with the program, uploading documents, opening a link, I would recommend asking your teachers. And a matter of fact, I saw that Mrs. Bassett posted some tips and tricks and some hacks for working through Edgenuity. She's going to be the first person you go to. And a matter of fact, she's veteran in the program. This is her second year in Edgenuity. So she will be able to provide those supports for you. But there may be some things that she can't answer or that you need more help with. If there's ever a time that you're in the program that you find that you need some help and you can't get those answers, please send me an email at jmiller@hesd.org, and I will get back to you with the help and the support that you need to be successful with the program. Now, tonight's presentation is really the big picture of what's going on with our RISE program with Edgenuity and how it's different from the years before. But there's more coming. We have upcoming events scheduled to support parents in their learning of their independent studies program. Next week on Thursday night, August 26th, we have 30-minute sessions for back to school night in your classroom. Grades kinder through second will have sessions starting at 5:30 and another session starting at 6 o'clock. Third grade through fifth grade will have a session beginning at 6 and another at 6:30. And sixth grade through eighth grade will have a session at 6 and another at 6:30. Each session is only 30 minutes long, and you can attend whichever section fits your schedule. The sections are set up so that if you have a child that's in kindergarten, third grade, and eighth grade, you can attend each one of those back to school night sessions. These sessions will be available in your child's Google Classroom. So you will need to have your child log in under their account, and then you can watch your back to school night session, which will be provided virtually this year. Additionally, we are having Edgenuity support classes for families coming in September. Edgenuity is our online platform, and as you start to get to work in it, you realize that it is a very deep program with a lot that can be done and a lot to know. So Edgenuity will be providing some classes for us and for you to support you and your child as they work through the program with more tips and tricks and things that you can do to make working in Edgenuity simple and seamless for your child. That concludes the presentation, but I would like to stay for a while and answer some questions. If you do have a question, go ahead and write it in the chat box, and I will answer as they come up. Do we have any questions in the chat? Wow, okay, so far we don't have any questions. I will give it an extra minute, but I wanted to tell you parents, thank you for your support during this time. and for your involvement in the Independent Studies program. We have had a very interesting beginning of the year. We started with a small Independent Studies program that grew into a very large Independent Studies program in just the matter of 2 weeks. We started with a small 70 students, and then it grew to about 140, and now it's over 200 students in our program in a very short amount of time. And we really want to say thank you to you as the parents for your patience as we work through getting everyone into the program and up and running with Edgenuity. So please make sure that you reach out to us if you have more questions. Ask your teachers if you need support, and if anything, let your teachers know how much you appreciate them at this time. Our classes are bursting at the seams, and yet the teachers are happily trying to make it work for everyone in their program. So we have to say we truly appreciate them for all that they're doing right now for our classes. If there aren't any more questions, are there more questions? Okay, thank you for attending tonight's presentation. I look forward to working with you this year. Good night.